Today, we are talking about how Zach Wilson continues to improve in his rookie season and how the New York Jets actually have laid out part of their foundation of their team going forward into 2022. Welcome in. My name is Jake Asman. This is the Jake Asman Show for a Tuesday. If you're new to the show, I ask that you hit the subscribe button on the right-hand side of your screen. You also can support the channel by liking this video right down below. We talk Jets each and every day on the channel. Other New York sports topics and clips from my radio show is what you will find on this channel. You can follow me on both Twitter and Instagram. It's just my name, at Jake Asman. Would love to hear from you guys on what you're thinking about the Jets away from YouTube. With that being said, let's bring on today's guest. If you follow the New York Jets on social media, you know the guy, and maybe you heard him driving to the game or driving around the New York area on Sunday when he filled in for Dan Grassa on the Jets pregame show. He's Ethan Greenberg, team reporter for the New York Jets, and he joins us now. Ethan, appreciate the time, man, and you've been a busy guy, so I appreciate you making some time to join us here on the show.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and, if you were listening on your way into the game, I appreciate that too.
That was me. I was driving to MetLife with my uncle, my cousin, and my brother. We were going to the game, and I'm like, holy crap, that's Ethan doing the pregame, because I knew, obviously, Bob Wischusen had COVID. Dan Grassa stepped in and did the play-by-play. So great job doing that. I'm sure every Jet fan wants to know, what was it like to work with the great Greg Buttle doing this pregame show?
It was fun, man. I mean, Greg's a character, but he's never dull, right? He busts my chops a couple times on and off the air, mostly off the air, but it was a good time all around. And, we did a little halftime thing, and then, you know what, maybe down the road, that's where we'll go. But it's nice to know that in a pinch, Greg Buttle gives me the thumbs up. That's all I was hoping for the entire day.
I was just wondering, did he offer you any cigars for you guys to smoke while you guys were watching this game?
Yeah, not during the game. The press box, probably a smoke-free zone, I would imagine. But maybe down the road, if the Jets win a couple more games, then Greg will offer that up. He did offer to whoop me on the golf course, though, and I will take that offer.
There you go. All right, so give me your thoughts just on this win on Sunday. Obviously, if it felt like some in the fan base were a little hesitant. Should they want to win? But the reality is, players play. This coaching staff wants to win games, and we saw the Jets go out there. Really exciting game if you actually were there at MetLife, and they won a game where their young players, including Zach Wilson, played, I thought, very well.
Yeah, and it was a game where not only did the young players play well, but then also, how about the guys that weren't even in the lineup? The Jets were down both of their starting safeties, and they were the starting safeties at the time. I mean, if we went to the week before, it was Ashton Davis, Elijah Riley. Then you would imagine Sherrod Neesman would have slid into Riley's place, who's dealing with the concussion. It ends up being Will Parks, who was signed earlier that week, and rookie Jason Pinnock, who the Jets drafted to be a corner, and then they started transitioning him into this Jimmy Ward style role the past month or so. And Jimmy Ward was with the 49ers and Robert Saleh, and Saleh always has nice things to say about Ward. So Jason Pinnock played 96% of the snaps on defense. If you go to my Twitter, then you can see I put a little stringer together. He made some nice plays, both in the run and the pass. He had a great pass defense where he thumped Marvin Jones, and he really flipped his hips in the middle of the route, and it was very impressive. And then he forces a fumble that was recovered by a Jaguars offensive lineman in the end zone that resulted in a touchdown. But he did not bite on either of the RPOs, right, with Trevor Lawrence taking the ball and running. He tackled him both times, both near the goal line. One of them resulted in the fumble that resulted in the touchdown. But I think you kind of said it earlier. I think the fans might have been, or a section of the fans, like, oh, well, do you really want to win this game? Because, you can leapfrog the Jaguars in the draft order. Look, the Jets are so young that I think everyone is important, and this coaching staff thinks the same. You're trying to build a culture, and you're trying to defend every blade of grass to the final whistle. And we saw that specifically in this game, considering the Jets won the game on a 4th and goal stop where the Jaguars were knocking on the door. So to win that type of game where it's back and forth, both teams are in it, and it comes down to something like that, I think that can only benefit the Jets moving forward.
Let's talk about Zach Wilson, because obviously, the numbers maybe don't show it if you just look, oh, well, he only had 103 passing yards. But when he needed to make plays, he made the big plays. The throw to Braxton Berrios, I heard Robert Saleh talking about this yesterday, the third down throw at near the end of the game. He thought that was Zach Wilson's best throw of his career. And I tend to agree, given the nature of the situation. 6-man rush, stepped up in the pocket, delivered the ball on time. That was a big play. Obviously, he made plays with his legs. He to me had his most complete game, even though like the passing numbers don't reflect it. But third straight game without an interception. What have you seen from Zach, and what did you make of his performance against Jacksonville in the win on Sunday?
I think he looked comfortable in the game, and I think that I think we've started to see that, right? Like in the beginning of the year, Zach started slow in the games, then he ended strong. And then the Tennessee game, he started fast. The Jets climbed out to that lead. He had the two big plays, both 50-plus yards to Keelan Cole and Corey Davis, and then kind of stalled. And then obviously against New England, with the game that he hurt his PCL, where he sprained the knee, he was playing at a high level. Then he hurts his knee. Then he's out for a month. Then he comes back, kind of a slow start. And I think what we're seeing now is him being more comfortable in the offense and playing a little more free. I don't know if you heard a couple of weeks ago, Zach Wilson was talking about he wanted to play within the structure so much that he almost felt like, it is like, this is for the coaches. Like, I'm doing this. I'm trying my best to stay in the pocket. The coaches like that, like, yes, but you also got to be you. You got to be free. That's what the Jets like about him, that he can create plays off script, off schedule. He can roll out. He's agile. He's quick. He's even a little fast, as we saw in the 52-yard touchdown run. And I think this past game, you just saw him very controlled, very calm, and he went about his progressions and he went about his day overall pretty well, even though, to your point, the numbers might not be staggering, right? I think that if you watch the game, you can confidently say that Zach Wilson showed signs of improvement. And this week against the Bucs is going to be another test, and wrapping up in Buffalo, yet another test. So I think you want to see more of the same. You don't want to see any bad decision making, right? Like everyone throws interceptions, and they come in all forms. It can come off the receiver's hand, fall in somebody's lap. The Jets have had their fair share of those, fair share of bad decisions. They come in all shapes and sizes. So I think really what you want to see is Zach Wilson be comfortable throughout a full 60 minutes and execute the offense the way it's supposed to be executed.
Now, Ethan, you're around Zach Wilson all the time because you're covering the team on a day in, day out basis. Give this fan base something about Zach that maybe you don't know unless you're around him, like his personality, how you think that plays in New York, and just your takeaways from getting a chance to cover him during his rookie season.
Well, I think it's a story that was in the media. Did you see him give his tickets away to the diner worker? I mean, I feel like that's exactly what you want to see out of somebody, right? Like nobody wants to be working on Christmas. And Zach Wilson sees this lovely lady. She's a fan. He's like, oh, I got 2 tickets. You want to go? And of course, like he made her day. So I think Zach Wilson, everything that he shows, right? He's a very smart individual. He cares about the right things. And I think the thing that we don't see, which is the thing the Jets love about him, is his competitive drive and the mental horsepower that Robert Saleh talks about behind closed doors. I mean, that's what you want to see. And I think that you've seen that throughout a lot of the Jets rookies, whether that's Elijah Vera-Tucker, another first-round pick. Elijah Moore was coming on strong, right? When he got hurt, Michael Carter, the same thing, then had a career high and rushing yards against the Jaguars. It just so happens that quarterback is the most important and difficult position to play in all of sports. It might take a little more time to acclimate to the NFL, but I think that we're starting to see Zach Wilson do that. And I think that's just part of the nature of who he is that he's so determined to try to be the best player he can be. And unfortunately, we don't see that. But listening to him talk to the media and approach different things, he's always working extra on the field after practice, whether it be with Matt Cavanaugh, John Beck, Mike LaFleur. I mean, I really do think that he wants to be great, and I think that's an encouraging thing if you're a Jets fan.
You look at this rookie class, obviously it's going to come down big picture to if Zach Wilson ends up being a franchise quarterback, but the Jets have not had a draft this good in years when you consider, Elijah Moore was a second-round pick. AVT is already really good, and he was someone they traded up to get. Then you factor in Michael Carter, who was a mid-round pick in the 4th round. He has his first 100-yard rushing game of the season. Like, the Jets actually got some players in this draft class. Do you think the Jet fans should be very excited about this foundation they have on offense right now?
Absolutely. I do think so. And I think that it comes back to, if you remember when Zach Wilson was drafted, Robert Saleh on the draft call. I love the draft calls, by the way, right? And Saleh was talking about how the organization is going to continue to lift him up, not the other way around. And I think that when you look forward to the offseason, the Jets now have pieces, right? And even if you go back to the 2020 draft class, say what you will I understand that Mekhi Becton's been hurt the entire year. It was an unfortunate injury, especially the way that it occurred. Like, he got rolled up on, right? Like, that's tough. It's not like he was involved in the play. He was engaged with somebody else, and he got rolled up on. And Mekhi Becton, as a rookie, I just think people forget about this. He was one of the better rookie tackles in the class, and he was playing at a very high level, especially after a year where everything was virtual. COVID took over the league. There was no OTAs. There was a weird training camp. There was no preseason. He came in day one, left tackle, played at a high level. I understand this season there's been all these storylines in the media, but I wouldn't be so quick to write off the big ticket, all right? And the other thing is, how about a guy like Bryce Hall in the 5th round? Talk about a value pick in a late round. Bryce Hall has been great for the Jets this year, and he's a guy that's continued to progress. So the Jets have pieces. And also another 5th round pick this year, Michael Carter II, day one, rookie nickel starter. I think he's been a bright spot for the Jets as well. So the pieces that the Jets have and the way Joe Douglas has set this up, where he still has cap room entering 2022, 2 first-round picks, both in the top 6 right now. Then you talk about the Panthers' 2nd-round pick, 2 4th-round picks. The Jets have the ability to really, I think, use this offseason as a launching pad for the foundation, or to add to the foundation that they've already built. But if you're a Jets fan, I think you really have to be encouraged by what's taking place in Florham Park right now.
I mean, Ethan, you mentioned it. They hold the 4th and 6th overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft. Can you think of a trade that has been this good than the one that Joe Douglas made for Jamal Adams, sending him to Seattle and getting back those 2 firsts?
Off the top of my head, no. I mean, it's paid off dividends, especially even if you think about last year, the Jets had the capital to move up and select Elijah Vera Tucker, day one, plug and play left guard. And I think that, coupled with what's going to happen now, like Seattle might end up picking later than 6. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. The rest of their schedule, I know they play the Lions and then the Cardinals. So whether they go 0-2, 1-1, or 2-0, the Jets are going to have a good pick, 2 very good picks. And that allows them flexibility to go up in the draft if they want a player, right? If they fall in love with a guy, they want to move up, this is the guy, they could do that. If they want to stay put, select 2 very, very good players, they could do that. They could also trade back, acquire more capital if the price is right, if the stars align. So I think that the Jets are set up in a position where they're in the driver's seat, and going into the offseason, you always want to be in the driver's seat. Obviously, different teams throughout the NFL are in different financial situations, different draft capital situations. But if you're in a position where you have leverage, you can drive the train, as opposed to you got to go backdoor channels and try to figure out how do you get draft picks, how do you get under the cap. You're playing behind the 8 ball, and the Jets are not doing that. I think that's going to benefit them moving forward, where they can really put the pedal to the metal here in the offseason.
Ethan, you've been with the Jets for 6 years. You covered Todd Bowles, you covered Adam Gase. Now you're covering Robert Saleh year 1 as an NFL head coach. What's it been like being around Saleh? Because he clearly has a much different personality than the previous head coaches you covered with the Jets.
Yeah, I'd say Robert Saleh is very energetic, as you can tell, but he's very calculated, right? And I think every head coach is calculated, but speaking to the different players, there are different messages, like the different messaging from different coaches is always different. And with Saleh, he always has this ability to take the big picture, take a singular focus, and put them and intertwine them really in the same message, where if you're talking about week 17 against the Buccaneers, he hits this point, but then it also goes into the big point of the big picture moving forward for the Jets. And I think really he's been great to cover. And I think he's a personable guy. The players love playing for him. And I think this is really the first time in my tenure here where it feels like, and this is not to throw shade at the people before, but you can really tell that the GM and the head coach are truly aligned. They think the same way. They believe the same things. They want to win football games in the same fashion. And I think that's very important. And if you look around the league, the better teams in the NFL all have that uniformity. And I think the Jets are on the right track here moving forward.
Ethan, looking ahead now to the offseason, I mean, there's no doubt it's going to be a massive offseason if the Jets are going to end the longest playoff drought in the NFL starting next year. You'll have your quarterback in year 2, head coach in year 2, OC in year 2. You know, you have this young core you're starting to build, but now you got to add to it in free agency. And then obviously 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. If I just say, what are the biggest needs this offseason? You could answer that question however you see fit. What would you do if you were essentially Joe Douglas trying to improve this roster?
I think that when you take a look around the NFL, the word either side of the ball is playmakers, right? I mean, if did you watch the game last night between the Saints and Dolphins?
Sure.
Like Jalen Waddle is a playmaker. He's got speed, and you know that Robert Saleh wants speed, all gas, no break, the whole 9 yards on both sides of the ball. And so I think that I think that's the overarching theme. Now, if you want to get a little more granular, I would expect the Jets to add playmakers on offense, whether that be tight end, Ryan Griffin, he just went on injured reserve. Tyler Kroft is out. And so I think that when you look at those positions, whether it be tight end, whether it be extra receivers, the Jets have a good top of their depth chart in receiver when you look at Elijah Moore and Corey Davis, both under contract for 2021. The Jets still, or 2022, should I say, the Jets still believe in Denzel Mims. He's under contract. Jamison Crowder, free agent. Braxton Berrios, free agent. Now, are you going to resign? Keelan Cole, free agent. Who are you going to resign? Who are you going to let go? Who's going to walk? Who's going to take a better deal? We'll find out. I just think that when you have a young quarterback, you're going to want to surround him with as much talent as possible. So on the offensive side of the ball, wherever that comes, I would imagine talent. And you know that Joe Douglas is going to want to add both offensive and defensive linemen on whether that's interior on the outside on offense, whether that's interior on the edge on defense, and whether that's through free agency or the draft. You know that some way there are going to be the big uglies. There's going to be replenishing there just because you could have the best offensive line in football and Joe Douglas would still be looking to do that. You could have the best defensive line in football. Joe Douglas will still be looking to do that. And I think you're just looking at more depth. I think when you look at the defense, you look at I'm looking at the linebacker position because Jared Davis, he's a free agent. The Jets have CJ Mosley. They have Quincy Williams, who's been a fantastic waiver wire ad for the green and white. But then you got guys like Jamie Sherwood, who's coming off a ruptured Achilles, right? And so when is he going to be ready, first and foremost? How much of a detriment was his injury to his offseason and his ability to put on pounds as he makes the transition from safety to linebacker? So I think that there are questions. Like, I just think that the Jets are going to add a lot of players, whether that be through the draft or free agency. I think you could probably expect a couple more corners. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets added player or players to every single position on the roster right now.
Ethan,
that's a roundabout answer,
okay.
but I do think that this is where the Jets are, where they have pieces in place and they like the pieces they have. But you got to keep adding more pieces around them, whether that's young or veteran talent. And I think that that's what we're going to see in this offseason.
Couldn't agree more. Now, let's end with this because you're around the team all the time. You guys get a chance to do like featured pieces on some of the players. You get to know them on a personal level. Who's got the funniest personality out of any of the current Jet players?
The funniest personality? That's a good question. On the spot, I really think Michael Carter, the rookie running back, he's a great dude. We do these walkout cams where the players walk out to practice. We set up a GoPro. It has a question on cardboard, and you read the question and you give your answer. And he takes them very seriously, which is hilarious. And he's just a real fun dude. And I think everybody in the locker room really loves him. And he's the first guy to give credit to the offensive line and the receivers when he does well, just like he did Sunday. And he's just a funny guy. I think that he's a good dude all around. And, maybe he doesn't have the outgoing magnetic personality, not to say that he doesn't have that, but he's just a dude that's like real salt of the earth kind of guy. And I think that behind closed doors, if you were to spend time and befriend Michael Carter, you would come away thinking like, this is a really funny dude. I could spend a lot of time with this guy.
Richard in the comments just wrote in, Braxton Berrios is pretty funny. I saw Berrios was wearing the Santa Claus outfit after the game. Real quick, just on Berrios, because he's obviously turned himself into a really good returner, really good receiver as well. Zach Wilson clearly could trust him in big spots. What do you make of Braxton Berrios? And if you're Joe Douglas, would you make him part of the Jets' future going forward?
I think Braxton Berrios, Jake, has been, again, this is a Joe Douglas waiver wire find in 2019, even before Joe Douglas had a draft, because he was hired in June, September comes around, they claim Berrios. He was a very good punt returner that year. This is the first year where he's done punt and kickoff returns, not to mention his role in the offense, I feel like has increased, especially with the jet sweep type stuff. And I feel like that we're starting to see Braxton Berrios' skill set really flourish. And I would say, to use an analogy, like I feel like he's developed from a reliable player to more of a weapon, right? I just feel like based on the way the Jets and Mike LaFleur use him in the offense, based on his aggressiveness on punt and kickoff returns, I think that he's really developed himself into a nice player. And I think that he's been a key cog in the Jets, basically their plans this season, right? Whether that is offense on the 3rd and 9 over the middle when you needed to play down your top 3 receivers, or whether that is a kickoff return for 102 yards. And the best part about Berrios in terms of a punt return aspect is that he never muffs the ball ever. And I'm knocking on wood here because he's done a fantastic job of that. I think that he's done a great job, and he's earned himself a second contract. And I think a lot of Jets fans will want him to stay with the Jets, understandably so. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least if he remains in the green and white.
No doubt about it. Ethan, this was a ton of fun, man. Glad to get you back on the show. Enjoy the last 2 games of the regular season, and then it's your guys' time to really shine with the Jets having cap space, draft picks in the top 10. I mean, I'm ready to see what the social team at the Jets could put out this offseason. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. And this offseason, I mean, it's got the blueprint to be a really fun one, to your point. Money to spend if they in fact decide to spend it, right? Joe Douglas has not been I wouldn't say he's been blowing stacks, right? But he has paid players where they deserve their con. Corey Davis, Carl Lawson. And I mean, it's unfortunate both those guys are hurt. Not to mention they'll come back. I'm specifically excited about Carl Lawson. And then right now, if the draft were tomorrow, to your point, 2 top 10 picks, 4 top 40. So it's going to be a fun ride in the offseason.
Ethan, appreciate the time, man. Best of luck going forward, and we'll get you on again throughout the offseason.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
He's Ethan Greenberg. My name is Jake Asman. This has been the Jake Asman Show. We're going to wrap up now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you excited about Zach Wilson's progress his rookie year, and thoughts on the upcoming Jets offseason? That's it for us. Thanks for watching. Have a good Tuesday.